Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Innovation Podcast, your source for all things innovation. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Fred Schonenberg on the line, and he's founder over at VentureFuel. Fred, welcome to the show.
Adam, thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So excited to get into today's topic. I mean, sustainable packaging from startups and how they'll facilitate the move to greater adoption by large corporations. I mean, sustainable packaging, hot topic, startups, that in-between or that adoption to large companies. I mean, a lot of business owners listening and are going to be interested in this. But before we get into it, I do want to start off with you giving us a little bit more of a background of what you're doing over at VentureFuel, please.
Absolutely. So we're in innovation advisory. So we work with the biggest companies in the world, and we help them tap into startups and emerging technologies to find inventive solutions. So we start with whatever their business challenge might be, and we go out. We've got hundreds of investors, VCs, accelerators all around the world that help us tap into what startups are kind of coming up. That might be able to solve whatever that business problem is. And one of the biggest problems right now is sort of, the environmental impacts of the packaging we've been using and, how it ends up in landfills and things like that. So we've been pretty focused over the past year or so into looking at inventive solutions that will help these larger companies make a positive impact on the planet and also help connect with their consumers better.
Man, what a unique vantage point to be able to work with all these accelerators and startups and to solve big problems like you're doing. I mean, I love it. So let's go a little bit further down the line. So tell us a little bit more about any trends and what you're seeing in sustainable packaging.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big ones is about 91% of potentially recyclable plastic in the U.S. ends up in landfills. And it takes thousands of years for that to disintegrate and never really goes away, right? So there's a stat out there that the volume of accumulated plastics in the ocean by 2050 is going to be more than there is fish in the ocean. So it's a big problem. And that, of course, affects everybody as well as affects business down the road. So, one of the big trends we're seeing is that large corporations they're obviously still thinking about shareholder value. They're thinking about profitability, but they're starting to realize that in order to continue growing, they have to invest in doing the right thing from a sustainability standpoint, environmental standpoint, and also kind of really interesting, they're realizing that younger consumers are actually putting a huge premium on buying products from companies that are environmentally forward, that believe in social practices they agree with, and they actually will pay more for those types of products, as well as recommend them to their friends. So the new consumers basically feel really strongly that companies should be helping improve the environment. They're looking at corporations to do what in the past we kind of looked to governments to do.
All right, Fred. So I'm on the podcast all day. I'm talking to businesses all around the world, and I need a story from you. Tell me of a technology or a company or just something that you've seen recently or in your past that you're just like, oh man, this is just amazing. I know that's a loaded question because it's like saying which one of my babies are the best. I know you love them all, but give me one, Fred.
Yeah, I mean, we see so much. What's kind of cool about my job is, I'm looking at autonomous robots 1 second to dairy milk startups and new products in the dairy industry the next. So we got a really interesting sort of view on solutions. But, to stay on the sort of sustainable packaging vibe, there's sort of 2 or 3 that I would point out that might wow your listeners. One is called Do Eat, so DOEAT. And they've created an entire range of compostable and edible containers. So instead of getting a plastic cup, your cup actually is something you could eat after you drink your coffee.
What? That wowed me. I don't know if everybody listening is wowed, but I'm wowed. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about even just like lunch today, right? I'm looking around our office, and there's all sorts of bowls and forks and all sorts of different things that we use and we dispose of right away. And so these guys are really thinking through, is there a way to make that compostable, right, which is great,
Mm-hmm.
and then what if you could actually make them edible so it's part of your meal? And Lego actually just announced at the Toy Fair in New York that some of their new Legos, the packaging is actually part of the game, a part of the creator set. This idea that no longer are the vessels in which we're getting our products, they don't have to be something we throw away. They can actually be something either we eat or that we use in the gameplay. And so really thinking through how to kind of get rid of some of this meaningless waste that we've sort of started to accumulate just because we want a life of convenience and we don't want to have to, cook at home and all those kinds of things.
Man, that's amazing. And I checked out their website and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Why as you're speaking, I'm like, it's amazing what they're doing. Give me another one, Fred. I know I'm bugging you, but I need another one because I know you have more for me.
No, man, keep it coming. I love it. There's another one that I think is really interesting. It's sort of like what's old is new again. A company called Loop, Loop, and what they've done is kind of taken the old milkman model. So if you've seen in films or TV shows, right, where the milkman would come with your glass containers of milk and would refill it each day and take your empties away. They kind of modernized that idea for all packaged goods, right? So shampoo, ice cream, all these kinds of things. You actually get a reusable container delivered to your door just like you would any Amazon delivery, and it's filled with Haagen-Dazs, right, if we're going to go with ice cream. And you put it in your freezer, and it's this beautiful aluminum Haagen-Dazs branded container. But when you empty it, instead of just throwing it away, you put it back in sort of their returnable packaging, right, that goes back to Loop, and they clean it out, and then they refill it with your strawberry ice cream or mint chocolate chip or whatever you want. So the idea is that we start to reuse this stuff, and it becomes, the phrase is a circular economy. But if you think about, that's amazing from a sustainable standpoint. If you think about the business implications, now these guys aren't spending millions of dollars on packaging, right? They're creating one package that gets reused over and over again, and they don't have to create new branding, and they don't have to do all this stuff, and they can bypass the whole supermarket. It gets ordered online, and so things you order over and over again start to show up. So it's easier for the consumer, it's more beautiful, and it has an environmental impact.
Let's talk about corporate adoption. Like, how does that happen? So obviously you're an innovation advisory, so obviously a big, Fortune 500, a large company approaches you, and they're looking for different ways to be sustainable. In our instance today, I know you do many different ways. We just happen to focus on packaging today, so I know you work in many different niches. But how does that adoption work at the large corporate level? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the corporate side, right, they have an obligation to deliver profit. And they need to do that for all the employees they employ. They have to do it for the shareholders that run the company, the board, all these sorts of things that are sometimes vilified, right? But in capitalist society, like, they have to make money. So the way to get a large corporation to pay attention is you have to show them that the solution can either make them or save them money. And that it's not some sort of charity decision, right? Or sometimes they'll do it for press, which is okay too, right? It doesn't really matter the motive as long as the outcome is legitimate. But to me, where the stuff starts to scale and become really interesting is if you can show that a emerging technology or a startup can help that corporation grow faster, make more money, or save money, that's where it's a no-brainer for them. And then they have the ability, they have the sort of, I'll call it the fire hose ability, right? Like, the water doesn't trickle out of a big company. When they decide to get behind it, they can put their scale, their resources, their money behind it, and it goes from being this sort of like cute idea to a movement. So I think that's why I'm so passionate about what we do, is that we're able to help startups provide unique solutions to the corporations. But once that shows value, man, both of them grow really quickly. So it's sort of like a win-win for everybody.
For sure.
And we get to sit in the middle of that and help both sides sort of grow their companies and, in their case, really help the planet and the world overall.
Man, that's awesome. So, Fred, in terms of just so that the people listening, I mean, a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs listening, what are the types of clients that you normally take on? What's a good fit for VentureFuel?
Yeah, so on the large corporate side, we work with the names you would know. So our client base ranges from Pepsi to Nike, Anheuser-Busch. So we're playing in that field, and that's who we are. That's who our client is. But we're always looking for startups across the entire business ecosystem. We don't take equity in the startups. We don't take a percentage of the deal. We work for those big companies. So we're always looking for new and different ideas that can solve a large company problem. So that can be sustainability. It can be things like we call it marketing technology, MarTech or ad tech. It can be things like new products. So we ran something called the California Milk Accelerator, which was looking at new products that had 50% dairy milk. So we're always looking for sort of interesting new up-and-coming things, and we might not have the right problem that aligns with it out of the gate, but what we do is we always we take the information, and then when we have something where this could be a solution, we reach back out to the entrepreneur or founder and tell them about the opportunity. If they're interested, we'll see if we can make something happen.
Man, that's exciting. So, Fred, what's the best way for somebody to reach out and learn more about VentureFuel?
Yeah, they can go to our website, which is venturefuel.net. They can email us info at venturefuel.net, and really just tell us a little bit about your company or whatever you'd like to learn more about, and we'll make sure someone gets back to you right away. We also have a pretty fun social media presence. VF, like VentureFuel, Insight is our Twitter and Instagram handles. And on Instagram in particular, it's pretty fun right now. We're posting all sorts of startup snacks. So these are new products that are snacking that are launching all around the world that we actually will try in our office and kind of post a little love about. So there's some pretty crazy snacks out there. So if anyone wants to send us some snacks, we're always happy to promote them. Mostly just because I like to snack in the office. So it's a good excuse to
I was just going to say that sounds like all kinds of trouble here. That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun. It's fun for when we go sit with the big food companies, and we can talk to them about the fact that we just tried whatever it might be. We've tried some weird things of late. So we're always trying to see what's popping up and what niche needs that the companies are solving for consumers, because that's, at the end of the day, that's the name of the game.
Man, love it. Well, hey, Fred, been awesome having you on the show today, and you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing over at VentureFuel, and also how large corporations are adopting sustainable packaging and all their sustainable messages, or I should say, things. We just happen to focus on packaging today. But Fred, again, thank you for coming on the show, and to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. Hope you had fun. We had fun making this and bringing this to you. If you did, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a review on the Apple iTunes store, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Innovation, then definitely give us a subscribe there, and leave us some comments in the video. Love to hear your thoughts and the kind of things you're working on. And Fred, thanks again for coming on the show.